Howard Bloom is my guest, www.howardbloom.net. He is the author of The Mohammed Code that is available on Amazon.com. And as I said, in my opinion, the Mohammed Code is the Rosetta Stone to understanding what is going on in the Middle East these days and other parts of the world. It will all make sense. Howard, I want to thank you so much for joining us, my friend. How can we best wrap up this hour?
Well, you've got to look at the big picture. We were told for many, many decades that humans are the only animals who enjoy killing, and humans invented war, and that war is a result of industrialism and capitalism, and none of that is true. War has been with us for 3.85 billion years. Our first great foremothers, bacteria, gathered in groups of 7 trillion and made war with each other using weapons of mass destruction, the chemical weapons that we call antibiotics. So war has been with us as long as life has been here on Earth. The remarkable thing about humans, especially humans in Western civilization, over the course of the last 300 to 450 years, is that we have decreased the number of violent deaths on this planet dramatically, absolutely dramatically. We've cut it by a factor of 9. In other words, if you've been born in 1650, your odds of dying a violent death at the hands of one of your fellow human beings and dying in a war were 9 times what they were today. You could see that in the difference between the First World War and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In the First World War, 200,000 men died in a single afternoon at the Battle of the Somme. In a single afternoon. In the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, America lost closer to 5,000 people in each war. That's a dramatic, that's in wars that have lasted 10 years. That is a dramatic decrease. Now, we can argue about the collateral damage, the civilians who've been killed. And in Iraq, the number of civilians who've been killed could be anywhere from 500,000 to 700,000. That's unacceptable. But that's a big decrease from the Second World War, when America firebombed 87 Japanese cities and eradicated 2 entire cities with nuclear weapons. The rate of violence has been decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, and it's your job and my job to make sure that decrease continues in spite of people like the folks at ISIS.
Do you think that there will be an attack by ISIS in the U.S.? It's
inevitable, because one of the ways that you get your hashtags, that you get your stripes in jihadism, is to do a big symbolic attack against the great Satan, the United States, and Britain, which is still regarded as a major power in the Middle East. And we've seen attacks in Spain as well in the past. So, yes, inevitably there will be attacks on the U.S. As one of the Iranian pawns, a person from Hezbollah, which is a group that Iran set up as a puppet group in Lebanon, said in 1980, don't believe that Hezbollah is just here to liberate the Middle East. Hezbollah is here to take the world. And the same applies to the jihadism of the Islamic State.
So what do you think the next step is going to be in this war against ISIS?
Well, I think we need to be as ingenious as possible in the use of our technologies, even look at off-the-shelf technologies that can take us further. For example, 3D virtual reality, which is coming on Samsung phones, of all things. Oculus has worked out a deal with Samsung. That stuff can be useful in remotely piloting drones and making attacks and gathering information. We need, Hans Guderian was a brilliant German. Unfortunately, he was working for the Nazis. And he came up with entirely new ways to use old technologies. We need to do the same.
Howard, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Always a great pleasure. And I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone. Until then, my friend, take care and be well.
Rob, thanks.
X Zone Nation, Howard Bloom, www.howardbloom.net. He's also the author of The Mohammed Code that's available at Amazon.com. I'll be back on the other side of the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.